Welcome back to TechnoSage YouTube channel. So AMD FSR 3 is now available for just two games. Basically, AMD's FSR frame generation is available for Forspoken and Immortals of Avium. And yeah, it looks pretty nice because the data is just coming from AMD itself, and from that data we just see that it looks pretty good. We need some third-party reviews and stuff, and my laptop is not supported for FSR3. But yeah, let's just see. Actually, it's kind of supported, but yeah, we know FSR3 is like upscaling technology, and there is another component which is frame generation, and then you get more frames in your games and stuff, and it upscales your game from 1080p to 4K and stuff like that. And there is a massive improvements on AMD's Radeon software, and on Forspoken at 79 RX 7900 XTX at 4K you get from 58 fps to as high as 201 fps, 7800 xt 4K 39 fps to 134 frames per second, and it is with frame generation on with FSR3, and the red line is FSR3 with frame generation and white is without FSR. And 6800 xt at 4K 129 frames from 37 frames, 6750 xt 1440p from 48 to 154 frames, RX 7600 1440p 38 frames to as high as 118 frames, and it's been seeing all across the board when you compare it to FSR 3 and at native also. So yeah, overall it's a pretty massive improvement. But at 6650 XT also it is from 35 frames to 114 frames per second, and at ultra high ray tracing frame rate we see it's high as 97 frames per second at ray tracing on 7900 XT, 7800 XT 120 frames 1440p, 6800 XT at 1440p 115 frames, and 6750 XT is 123 frames. With frame generation it's like upwards of 50%, like 30 to 50% increase, and the frame latency is also low, as you can see. Without FSR at frames at ray tracing on, you can see a latency of 81 milliseconds, but with frame generation and FSR3 it's as low as 55 milliseconds and 948 milliseconds. So yeah, latency is also reduced by 50% overall. So yeah, it looks pretty nice, and yeah, overall it's pretty interesting. But there's a weird kind of a scenario because FSR3 is supported across the board, but it is weird, as you can see over here. In Immortals of Avium also we saw the same thing. Here the latency is decreased by as high as 100, like 2 times when you compare it with performance mode and frame generation. But there are two types of FSR3 which has been released. One is supported on driver level and one is on software level. As you can see on Forspoken there is an option to turn frame generation on, and in Immortals of ABM also. So basically this is something that developers needs to implement in their game, like FSR 3.0 support and frame generation. But the, there are various games which are supported, like back then there was 10 games but now there are 12. EVE Online and PAX DI is also supported, and there are many more supported games which would be available, but it is not as big as DLSS 3. But at the same time, as we can see, the recommended for FSR3 with frame generation is RX 50, supported is RX 5000 series, but it can go, the recommended is RX 6000 series, and for NVIDIA the supported is RTX 20 series and above, but recommended is RTX 30 series and above with frame generation. And if you want just FSR3s with upscaling only, it is supported as low as RX 590 and above, and the recommended part is RX 5000 series. The supported for that for NVIDIA's is GTX 10 series, like GTX 100, GTX 10 series, 1080, 1060 and stuff like that, while RTX 20 series is recommended. So this just shows you that there are two kinds of FSR technology, one which supports frame generation also, and one that doesn't support frame generation. It's just an upscaling tech, and this just confirms it, like there's also two types of frame generation. One is based on software level and one is supported on hardware level. As you can see, AMD's next post, which is like fluid motion frames, is out on RX 7000 series, and on RX 7000 series it is supported on driver level. So yeah, frame generation is a frame generation technology in HyperRX that provides a frame generation boost to DirectX 11 and 12 games on RX 7000 series desktop. We are bringing some of the frame generation technologies found in Fidelity FX Super Resolution and putting it into AMD software Adrenaline Edition, so that thousands of gamers games can benefit from a more responsive gaming experience. This new preview driver can be found. So it's basically there are more games supported on a driver level. So RX 7000 series can support more games with FSR 3 and frame generation because it is supported on driver level. And other thing is like on the software level where developers needs to implement it, and it is supported on RX 6000 series and RX 5000 series. That's only I can take from it. But yeah, that's it from me today. What do you think about the news? Sound of your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe. And I will meet you in the next one. Peace out.